Hello and welcome to the Royal Road School of Carmelite Prayer. We are currently making our way through the introduction to the book of Her Foundations by Teresa of Avila. And today the topic that we will be taking a brief look at are illnesses, both in Spain and the illnesses of Teresa of Avila. From her youth until the moment of her death, Teresa was assailed by bodily illnesses. Sickness was one of the greatest battles of her life. She was, however, keenly observant, and she has written of these illnesses with impressive objectivity, precise description, and a great simplicity. Her bad health, though, never really interfered a lot with her work or with her full spiritual development. Undoubtedly, the countless trials and consequent stress that Teresa had to endure in her mystical life and in her life of service as foundress must have taken their toll and contributed to her illnesses. A difficulty in Teresa's case was her tendency to take lightly any need for rest or medical care. The doctor himself had to tell her that her head would feel better if she didn't stay up writing letters until 2 o'clock in the morning. On Christmas Eve in 1577, Teresa fell down the stairs at St. Joseph's in Avila and broke her arm. Since it didn't set properly, the bone was rebroken to correct the deformity. This not only failed to remedy the matter, but it made things worse for Teresa. Her left arm was useless. For the rest of her life, she would need help with the simplest of tasks, such as dressing and undressing. Her own experience of bodily infirmities and spiritual trials heightened her capacity to feel compassion for other people, other suffering people. She therefore ordered that the sick be cared for with great love, concern for their comfort and compassion. Healthy nuns should deprive themselves rather than allow the sick to go without some deeds of kindness. One wonders how much awareness of mental and bodily hygiene was present in ascetical practices of the 16th century spirituality. Teresa was concerned for monastic hygiene. She wanted the foundations in healthy surroundings and required good health of those entering and insisted on cleanliness, especially for the sick. In her writings, we note that they abound with comments on a variety of illnesses, and in speaking of them, Teresa correctly employs contemporary medical terminology. She also demonstrates a good familiarity with the therapeutics of the day. The different remedies about which she speaks do have their basis in the 16th century pharmacopoeia. However, Teresa never tried to practice medicine on her own account, but always showed a great respect for the science of medicine and for doctors. As for mental and emotional illnesses, Teresa uses the term melancholy. Chapter 7 of the Foundation is a little treatise on melancholy. The reader of this chapter 7 in the Foundations can be amazed at the sharpness of its observations and the extent of its understanding of the human psyche. This from one who had not even the most elemental training or reading knowledge from books on medicine. Teresa warns prioresses that however much they may strive to exclude from their communities applicants who suffer from melancholy. The illness is subtle and not always recognizable until it's too late. Teresa felt that just one person with melancholy was enough to disrupt the quiet of an entire community. And so the afflicted person needed to be governed in such a way that no harm was done to the other nuns. The remedy that Teresa proposed for the very afflicted still has its validity today. The condition should be cared for as a major illness, according to Teresa. The nun was to be isolated and treated with love. However, she had to understand that as long as she felt free to do as she wished, she could not return to the community. If the nun was allowed to return to the community, the nun needed to be occupied with duties to avoid her imagining things. Teresa's suggestion that such a nun not eat fish shows an awareness of the importance of diet. At the time, people probably thought that fish was less nourishing than meat. Amen. So, the next intervention will be taking a look at the Inquisition in 16th century Spain, and this will be followed by the conflicts amongst the friars, and then the last days, and we will be finished with the introduction, which will then allow us to begin our very fun journey through the adventures of Teresa founding monasteries in 16th century Spain. Thank you so much for being a part of this channel and this journey, and I wish that God blesses you and yours. Amen.